Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an Ice Knight cold damage fighter build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. This is one I've been working on for a very long time. I'm a big fan of lightning and cold damage, and this can pair well alongside storm sorcerers, or really just on their own. Now, we're going to be playing as a fighter, so we're going to take obviously our first level in that. As for our fighting style, I think defense is the king here. +1 armor class is always a solid choice. You can go with archer if you want to use more of the bows, but I think defense or 2-weapon fighting is the best choice for this build. So we're going to go with the defense there for the increased armor class. Now, as for our ability scores, this is where the build is interesting because we're going to be focusing mostly on dexterity, but we still need a little bit of strength too. So ideally, we can get our dexterity around 16, our constitution around 14. We don't really need intelligence. However, I will be taking the Eldritch Knight because it does pair very well with this. And we don't really need wisdom that much. You can go all in on your defensive stats here, but a little bit of intelligence is not bad, and a little bit of wisdom just for the you don't want to be failing wisdom saves, as there's a ton of them in the game. So we can go with something like that for our stats. And you could take your dexterity up to 17 there, and you could put the hag's hair on to make it 18, and then we can put the +1 to that there. So we're gonna go with something like this for our ability scores. And yeah, this build is actually quite strong. I'll be showing you all the gear that we'll be covering at the end of this video, as the gear can make this a very unique build. So level 2, we get action surge, pretty straightforward there, and at level 3 we get to choose our subclass. And as I said, I think the Eldritch Knight works best here, but you can go Battle Master. The Battle Master is a good choice too, but the Eldritch Knight gives us some cantrips, so we're obviously going to take Ray of Frost just for the theming. You're not going to use this very often, but I just think it's good to have on there. I also like Mage Hand and Minor Illusion. Minor Illusion can get you enemies grouped up together. Now, Mage Hand is really nice because you can drop a water bottle on the ground, have your Mage Hand pick it up and throw it. And then that will apply vulnerability to cold damage, so we'll deal a little bit extra damage there. As for our spells, no brainer, we want to take Shield. +5 to armor class makes us extremely tanky. And then Magic Missile is not a bad one. Chromatic Orb, you can go with a Cold Orb, but that's not going to be a really good choice for damage because our intelligence is not that high. But Magic Missile is nice because it's guaranteed damage, so we'll go with one of those. We'll go with those two there. You may be tempted to take Ice Knight for the theming, but again, not ideal perfectly, so I think Find Familiar is probably the best choice here out of all these the extra spells that we can possibly get, so we'll go with that because it's nice to have someone else to take hits for you, even if it's just a familiar. Now, level 4, we get ourselves a feat. We also get to choose another spell. Now, Shield's going to be kind of useless to us. Protection from Good and Evil can be okay. Chromatic Orb can be another okay option. Thunderwave is, again, the spells that we don't really want to be using spells too often, but Thunderwave has a nice pushback to it, so we could go with that just to knock enemies off cliffs. However, you can go Chromatic Orb to take the Cold Orb, which could work well here. And you can even take the Intelligence Circlet if you want to cast some more of these spells, so you could potentially take the Chromatic Orb there. But we're using a different helmet for this build, but it's a possible choice you could go with. Now, we do have a few choices for what we want to take for feats. Ability Improvement to take up Dexterity, always a good choice. Alert, not a bad choice. I think that it's good to go with the Dual Wielder perk, so we can use weapons that aren't light. We get a +1 to armor class, and we get to pick 2 weapons here, so we can go with 2 cold damage weapons, which is really nice. But there are other options too. Savage Attacker to increase the damage overall. But I think that the best choice here, even Tavern Brawler, because some people go Eldritch Knight and go full in on the Tavern Brawler side of things. That's why I put our Constitution to 15. So that is another option you can go with. Add our Strength modifier to the damage of our attacks when we do throwing. But I'm going to go with the Dual Wielder perk. +1 armor class, and whenever we attack with 2-weapon fighting, we can attack if they aren't light, which there's 2 weapons that we want to use on this and they aren't light. Now at level 5 we get the extra attack. That's solid. You can swap out your spells at any time if you find that you're not using one as much as the others. And then for our next feat at level 6, I think that this is the best time to take Tavern Brawler. +1 to Constitution. It allows us to throw our weapon and get the Strength modifier added twice to the damage and attack rolls. So that means we have a 14 Strength there, but I'm also going higher in, or we're going to be using Strength potions as well if we want to double up the damage, because that is the way you can get the highest damaging build in this game. So Strength potions work pretty well on this. Now we also get the war magic here, so after we cast a cantrip, we can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. Not something you're going to use often, but we do get some higher level spells here. You may be tempted to take Scorching Ray, but again, we don't really want to be taking spells that are going to be damage focused, because we want to attack. So Darkness is a really good one. You can set this up before battle. It does require concentration, but as a fighter you get Constitution saving throw proficiency. Arcane Lock has some interesting options that you can use it in like Act 2, so you might want to take that potentially, because we're not typically going to, for the rest of the spells they require a attack roll, and our intelligence isn't high enough unless we use the Circlet of Intelligence, so typically we just want to focus on our taking stuff for basically just to increase our hit chance. We can take, so we actually got some really good options at our expended spells here. Misty Step, bonus action, teleport is awesome. Flaming Spear is not bad too, just to have a summon. This does require concentration. Magic Weapon is nice because it can add a +1 to attack and damage rolls, so this will give us just flat out more damage, which is always a really nice thing to have. I think that Misty Step's probably our best choice though out of all these spells, because it's just, it doesn't require our intelligence and we can teleport. This can be nice too because maybe an enemy teleporter is out of range of your attack. You can run towards them and then Misty Step to them and then beat them up that way. So that is actually really nice. And at level 8, we also get another choice of feat. So we already took Tavern Brawler, we took Dual Wielder. Next, we're going to take our ability score improvement and take Dexterity up to 19. You can go with higher strength if you don't want to use strength potions, but you can also use the strength gauntlets in Act 3. Now, the reason we got high dexterity is we're using armor that scales off of that. And again, ideally we'd have the hags here to take our armor, our dexterity up to 20 to give us another increased dexterity modifier for more armor class. At level 9, we get the Indomitable. Whenever you fail a saving throw, you can roll again. Woohoo! That means we're going to be succeeding on our spell saving throws a little bit more frequently. Now, level 10, we get Eldritch Strike. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, it has disadvantage on its next saving throw against a spell you cast before the end of your next turn. So that's pretty decent, but again, we're not going to use spells a whole lot here, but it can be a decent thing to have set up. We do get another cantrip. I think Shocking Grasp is good for stopping the target from using reactions. But even Bone Chill is pretty decent to stop the target from healing. And even Friends if you want to have the advantage on charisma checks. Minor Illusion's not bad as well, but one of those three. And then for our spell, Gust of Wind, not terrible. Summon Strong Wind that clears all clouds, pushes back creatures 5 meters, forcing them off balance. I mean, of all the options that we got for spells, like, unless you're using the Intelligence Circle, I'd take Chromatic Orb. Yeah, we don't got great. We're not going to be using spells too often as an Eldritch Knight. It's more so for the bound weapon. Now, we also get the improved extra attack, so you can make 2 attacks after attack. You make 2 additional attacks after attacking with your main hand weapon. Pretty solid. And then we can also, I guess, maybe we'll just take Chromatic Orb just for the theming. And then our final level. There's a couple ways we can go about doing this. Some people like to add in a level of the Wizard, because then you can go with this and take some more cantrips, take a few more spells. But I would only do that if you have a high intelligence. You can also go ahead and add in the Warlock if you want to take the Fiend for extra healing, or the Great Old One to have critical hits make targets frightened, which is not bad. And even the Cleric with the War Domain can give you bonus action attacks, but we're going to be dual wielding, so this one isn't even like a huge requirement. Personally, I think it's just even best to stick with the fighter itself, so just get that extra feat. Typically, I don't normally go all the way to level 12. I like to sub to multi-class, but I think for this one, it's best to get as many feats as possible with this. So I think this is probably the best choice here. And we can go with something like the Alert if you want a +5 to initiative. Also, ability score improvement, never a bad idea. Ideally, we would have had our dexterity at 20, but you can take Constitution up or Strength up. I'm just going to put that up, and we'll pretend Strength got boosted there. So, getting into the gear, this is where it's pretty fun, because we got a lot of things. You can see there's a little icy trail around my character there, but what we want to be going with is the Flail of the Ages, and then in the offhand, we can put the Cold Snap. So, this gives us a 29 armor class. Pretty crazy. And what we can even go ahead with even further if we want to have a 30 armor class is go with the Defender Flail. So 30 armor class, pretty nice. If we did use just a shield, we would get to 31 there, which is pretty crazy. So you can see from there all the sources of our defense. Pretty nice. This is a very tanky build, but we're going to keep the cold snap in the offhand there. 30 armor class is still nothing, not too bad. And taking off the defender flail, what we can actually do is we can go dual flail. And this is a pretty funny way of doing this, but what we'll do is we're going to use the elemental age, glacial age, and then we can use, I guess we have to drop the weapon. So what we'd have to do is throw our weapon on the ground, and then we can use the flail of the ages to buff it up. So I guess we got a lot of items in my bag here, but I guess I can probably just drop it this way. So drop item, it's on the ground there now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our elemental item, glacial age. I guess I missed it there. Alright, whatever. I was going to do it so we can have the defender flail take the cold buff from it, but we got the cold buff on there now, and then the cold snap. So Shadowheart's hair just randomly changed. With this, we got 2 sources of cold damage. And then if we add on our gloves of the balanced hand, then this damage does go up a little bit there. So we can add our strength modifier and dexterity modifier to it. With this build, I have the strength potions on, and also using the constitution amulet there. I also like the killer sweetheart for next attack roll will be critical. Ring of protection for +1 armor class. Helm of Baldur for +1 armor class. Same thing with the cloak protection and the evasive shoes. We can also, if you want, go with the Gauntlets of the Frost Giant. This kind of makes sense for this because that'll give us extra strength if we don't have strength potions. But even the Glove of the Balanced Hand can be good because it'll increase the damage of our cold snap. So if you didn't take the fighting style, the 2-weapon fighting, I took the armor class one because we could just go with this here. However, you can also go with the Gauntlets of the War Master. I guess that's for maneuvers. So if you wanted the Battle Master, you could take that. But even the where is it there? Legacy of the Master, +2 to attack and damage rolls. That just increases the damage that we're going to be dealing with our weapons flat out. So if you don't use the dagger is more so just because what it gives you is the armor class +1, but the chilling counter is the big focus here. So when a creature misses you with an attack, it must succeed a DC 13 Constitution saving throw, or be chilled for 2 turns. When they're chilled, they take extra damage from cold damage. So if you have a Storm Sorcerer, you set them up to be able to deal extra damage just from dodging an attack, which the fighter, it has a 29 armor class. It's going to miss a lot. On top of that, we also have shield as our reaction. So whenever we get attacked, we have an ability to change this to 34 armor class. Pretty much no one is going to be hitting us at that point. And then we're going to apply the chilled, and then we can just attack with this, and we can deal that extra damage. So, and when we miss an attack, we deal damage anyways with the Flail of the Ages. So that's pretty good. Now, we can go with the, I would recommend like the Near Misser on your offhand, because when you apply the chilled, you can also use Create Water from someone else to freeze the target, and then they're vulnerable to force damage. And then the Near Misser weapon here only deals force damage, so all this damage will be doubled. And it also gives you a free level 3 magic missile. So we have magic missile ourselves, we get a free one. I think that the crossbow is awesome. And then on top of all of this, we can also bind weapons and throw them around. So the Nyrulna is not a bad weapon also too, if you wanted to go with something different than that. Because with the Nyrulna, it also does thunder damage. So if they are vulnerable, if you have them chilled from this and then frozen with water, you can throw this and the thunder damage is going to be doubled. So that 3 to 12 explosion will deal double damage. So you can go with that. It'll also light up your character. You can even throw in the radiating orbs kind of build. But the Flail of the Ages gives you that cold damage and it looks cool too. You can also go with the Chilling Touch. I guess where is it here? The Morning Frost. So this has built-in frost damage. Now, not the ideal choice, but what it does is whenever we deal cold damage, we deal an additional 1 cold damage. And dealing cold damage with a spell possibly inflicts chilled upon the target. More so focused on, like, if you were to actually be a spellcaster, I wouldn't highly recommend using a quarterstaff, but it's a possibility with a cold staff in the offhand, so you have 2 ice weapons there. But those are like the 3 main ice weapons, I guess you could go with in Baldur's Gate 3 to give yourself this Ice Knight build. Pick which one of these you find works best for you. I think that it's best with the Flail of the Ages. With the cold damage on it, it still keeps it even if you cycle it around. And then we can bind our weapon here, so this will give us the bound weapon, so whenever we go to throw it, if we throw our weapon, it's going to come right back to us, so... Oh, never mind. Scratch got it. Thank you. So there you go, Scratch got the item for us, but yeah, the bound weapon I guess is not that one. We'll try it again. And you should be able to throw your weapon and then it comes right back to your hand. But it is kind of glitchy at times. I guess we'll look for the Flail of the Ages. You can also throw other weapons, like if you want more of a frost focus, or if you want more of a different focus on your damage, you can throw a different one. But yeah, I guess that's a little bugged out right now. My save file's been acting up, but... there it is. That is the Ice Knight build for in Baldur's Gate 3. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Now, I'm using all this armor here with a light blue dye, so if you want to replicate this look, that is how. But yeah, that is a very strong build for in Baldur's Gate 3. Alternatively, I guess you could also go with the Cold Snap on your main. I guess you go on the main there with the shield on there and just don't take the dual wielder perk. So this is another option you could go with. And then hopefully the bound weapon will work now. I don't know why it wasn't working properly. But you can throw the knife. There we go. It came back finally. There we go. So that's working as it should. Throwing sometimes is a little bit sketchy, but there it is. If you're going to go this route with the shield, I wouldn't take the dual wielder perk. I would take something like an ability score improvement. Take up the strength for the tavern brawler throws. But yeah, typically before combat, you want to cast, like, Darkness is a pretty good spell to just throw up. Just for, I guess, crowd control purposes. But yeah, if you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.